to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome into another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening for an episode you might call a surprise episode because we are reviewing the Cloverfield Paradox. Is that what it was? Paradox? Is that right?
Yes.
Man, I just blanked out for a second. Wasn't the original plan. The original plan was Open House, which is on Netflix, which I was the only one who have now seen. But then the Super Bowl happened and people ate poop in the streets and now we're here watching Cloverfield. So there you go. Joining me tonight to review this mysterious movie. First up, he drinks beer. For maybe the first time ever in the show, he's wearing a knit cap while we record. His name is Joe.
What justifies a knit cap versus just a
I don't know. I
hat?
just remember we used to make fun of Mark for it. So
Usually I think it's knitted. That's
yeah.
the definition, definitionally.
That's what I assume. This is not
Yeah.
a knit cap though.
next up on
Looks
the
good, either
show,
way.
coming to
Looks
us from Hot Atlanta, no Cloverfield monsters there, just The Walking Dead. She is the chief in charge of the book club and smart things at Bloody Good Horror. Please welcome Cece.
Hello.
Next up from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
And last up, the business manager at BloodyGoodHorror.com. He lives in prime Cloverfield territory, like literally the building that they opened that movie in. His name is John Schnorrs.
a little less glass in my building than that building, if I remember correctly, but
Yeah.
wasn't all that far away.
No,
it was
but
only probably like 25 blocks.
But I do.
Maybe we can get John to eat Cloverfield poop if the Giants win the Super Bowl.
I actually do now recall, though, Schnar saying that at the end of the original Cloverfield, when the monster's in Central Park, that it destroys the building that he works in or something at the time.
Yes, that was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, well, it was also
10
it
years
was
ago?
also an alternate universe apparently. So
I don't even know what universe we're living in because the Philadelphia Eagles are fucking world champions.
and
Yeah,
You
Don,
really
shit,
buried the
wor-
lead right there.
Like world champions of a sport that only takes place in the U.S.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Why are we splitting
Hey,
hairs?
John-
Europe had a football league for a
Yeah,
while.
they had NFL Europe. Canada plays football.
John, congratulations.
So did the Eagles play any of those teams? I'm not sure.
They will now. Maybe they will. Maybe
Congratulations,
we're
John.
playing all comers.
I'll be honest, I'm not really interested in celebrating the Eagles' win tonight as much as I am putting you on trial for the behavior of the
Yeah.
citizens of Philadelphia after the game.
Hold on. Honestly, in the grand scheme of behavior, this was like not even that bad for Philadelphia fans.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what I'm to
there was
understand.
one outlier
So-
that we've identified.
So what I'm to
One-
understand is that you're defending. No, there was not one outlet. There, yes,
Yeah.
yes, only one person that I saw ate literal horse shit off the ground. But
yes.
there was the group of idiots on top of the awning that collapsed, and then there was another dude that jumped backwards off like a 20-foot awning. Then they were like pulling.
Trust
The guy
falls.
that stole an ostrich.
They were there was two police horses were like stolen and absconded with, and like just people were looting. That was a video I saw today.
Oh, please, come on.
John,
I don't know. Everybody
Originally,
just
I
sits
did
around
not-
and wants to judge Philly fans. That's all I'll say.
Originally, I did not want to see your town happy because it's full of just diarrhea people. But like midway through the game, I realized that the Patriots could be disappointed, and your disgusting inbred rednecks will destroy that fucking hellhole of a city. And it's really a win-win.
so you were thinking like
the
a
city
mean,
survived.
like-
the
like
city
a-
perseveres.
like a means
Did
to
it,
an
John?
end.
Though
Like
did
a,
it?
Like a means to an end kind of thing, Joe. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'll take it.
yeah, I guess that
It
makes
all
sense.
worked out.
Okay, so you're defending this behavior. I just want that on the record.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I will put that
Let's-
behavior up against any other city that wins a championship because Philly
we-
just has a bad rep, and
Listen.
therefore everything gets pulled out of context and
Listen,
magnified.
New
I'm
England.
pretty
New
sure
It is
none of that
literally
was
nowhere.
magnified.
John,
Like, that was
I-
straightforward.
Yeah.
I have been in Chicago for 5 years now and gone through one World Series win and 2 Stanley Cups. Not once have I seen anyone eat shit or anyone destroy
All
anything in this
all
city.
right. No one cares about hockey championships.
I will
first and
say,
foremost. The college championship definitely had looting after it. I will not. You cannot even
Where?
convince me that didn't. I'll go do the research.
I will say,
Not
say,
Breitbart, all right, John? One of your legitimate.
not fake news. I will say though, I was impressed because it takes a lot for me to actually like feel physically ill because of something I see on the internet. But when whoever sent that link the other day of the guy just face down in a giant pile of horse poop, like with people on, like if you're confused because you didn't see this, this was his celebratory thing, and people were like standing around cheering him.
Yeah,
No,
he was
that's
an
next
Eagles
level.
fan.
It was
That's
literally
next
like
level.
a scene out of like Always Sunny.
But like, how was that magnified? Like what really happened there, John? Was he
Wait,
just
was
like?
Was
He's
it
just been-
Casey just saying that he's seen other people do that?
I've seen another clip of that before. That's the weird thing, and I think it was Joe saying it was becoming a thing.
I think
I mean,
what's,
I
What's
think
the
at other
thing?
like
People are eating Tide Pods. Like, how
Yeah.
much
Oh,
further is
Our
Uh,
different parallel universe. Like this is bullshit.
at least a Tide Pod is clean.
Oh, it's horse shit.
No.
I'll take my chances with a Tide Pod over literal horse excrement. There you go.
God, I guess I,
mean,
would too.
I guess horse shit is organic though, so
Grass fed, baby.
Not necessarily. I don't know. I think that's true.
I mean, John, if you
Who knows
love
what these horses are eating?
Schnars, if you love Philly so much, why don't you live there? I guess is my larger point.
Oh,
If you're one of these
listen,
people and you just support them, why don't you go live there?
Eric, when you spend the first 18 years of your life in a media market, you root for that team.
Did
like
you-
you and the Albany Spinsters or whatever the fuck the
Did
the
you-
race
John,
team is called.
River
Yes, because that's what I was thinking about in my first 18 years of my life was media markets.
Did you get a call,
Well,
John?
I mean, I grew up like 10 minutes outside the city. Like, it's, you know.
Did you get any calls from like the degenerates you grew up with who still live there?
Oh, yeah. Well, mostly.
and were
texts.
and were
Were
they
they out
were their
necking
voices
the
muffled?
Listen,
I'm sorry, I eat horse shit.
I was legitimately concerned for my mother's health throughout the game. Like, she is, she's not a super old lady, but like she's,
Did you
you
get,
know, one of these days an Eagles game is gonna kill her.
Did you get
is
any?
my
Did you get any phone calls from like Squeezebox and Boner and stuff, and checking in to see how you're doing?
Sweetie cheese dicks on the horn. He wants to congratulate you.
It was a good time.
Oh, good old cheese dick. All right.
We needed it. We needed it.
So anyway, the best thing that happened during the Super Bowl, I think, clearly was the commercial for Cloverfield.
Cloverfield Paradox.
That was actually the
I
only.
mean, that's why
Bad
we're
one.
here today, is it not?
That was the only thing I texted anybody about all game. Was I texted you guys about that commercial coming out of nowhere? Do we think it was?
And Eric's not exaggerating because we literally got a tweet out of nowhere that said, "Holy shit, did you see that?"
Now, do we think it was weird that they didn't say that it was going to be live after the game? It just said soon.
Well, so that was like a thing. Like they were there was like a bunch of controversy because NBC is obviously using part of their whole plan is like use the Super Bowl to promote This Is Us.
Right.
So you like when you run a commercial, you notice there was like no other commercials for TV shows. We can talk about Castle Rock, obviously, which is not released yet, but like it's like a big deal that Netflix kind of like.
Oh, interesting.
fucked
So
over
so
NBC.
maybe that was their concession that they wouldn't say.
Oh, or they just didn't tell NBC at all that they were going to do it.
I was
Well,
gonna say,
that's
I don't think
much
they
more
probably
likely.
told.
But you buy the ad
NBC that-
time.
I think
Yeah.
that stuff's got to run by people because
Yeah.
they shoot down
No,
commercials all the
I
time.
think it was an audible. I think they probably said, "Let us run this," and this is what day we'll
No,
say
no,
it's
but,
gonna
like-
play. But
But the way that stuff happens though is those things get like ingested at some kind of central server somewhere. So like somebody, they're not just beaming to Netflix to show their commercial. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
Right.
but basically, they just didn't put the release date in there. So, like,
Yeah.
NBC's not going to be like, well, when is this releasing? They could be like, I don't know.
I mean,
we're
honestly,
still
it never-
deciding."
Were you guys able to watch it immediately after the game? Because I couldn't see it until the next morning, and I checked like a couple hours after the game.
I got it to start at like 10:30 that on Sunday night, but then I turned it back off to go to bed.
I saw it, but I heard it now. But I didn't try to play it. I heard some people had trouble with just that it was bogged down.
Yeah,
No,
I did hear
fine.
some of that.
Mine just didn't show up.
Yeah, I didn't check.
I didn't
mean-
watch it till the next day.
I was
The
out
obvious
looking for
question
some
is-
horses.
What did you guys think of This Is Us?
Didn't watch
Um,
that either.
Fuck the crockpots, man.
My wife watches This Is Us, so I actually know way more about that show than I should. But yeah,
This was the first episode I ever watched, only because my back hurts and I couldn't get up off the couch.
I think I've said
Super
I've said this before, but I watched the pilot with my wife and said, "Wow, that was actually way better produced than I thought it would be," and I don't ever want to see it again because there's way too many feelings I can already tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of feelers.
It's like feelings of the show, and I'm like, no, thank you. I have enough
Yeah.
feelings just walking around every day. Let's talk about Castle Rock. So I can't remember. There was a promo for that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Castle Rock, this was something, there had been some chatter about it on the Slack channel. It is produced by J.J. Abrams.
Of course it is.
Hulu original. And it's basically like a Stephen King, J.J. Abrams collaboration.
Hulu,
The thing I
so-
don't know, I haven't done like enough research on like whether it's based on specific stories or if it's just kind of like set in the universe of all the Stephen King Castle Rock stuff and it draws inspiration from. Have you guys read about it at all?
I vaguely remember when they announced the show that it talked about maybe like tying all of his stuff together, but I don't remember if that was like fan speculation on on Reddit or something, or if that was in an actual article. But from what
Yeah.
we've seen in the trailer, that's what blew my mind because it kind of makes sense because we see Skarsgård,
Shawshank.
Shawshank, we
Prison.
see Sissy Spacek, a lot of people that have been in King movies that are not necessarily repeating their roles from those movies.
How about did you guys pick up young oh god, what the hell's his name? He looked like Steve Buscemi's kid. I don't actually know if it was really Steve Buscemi, but it looked like a 30-year-old Steve Buscemi. It was the weirdest
If it's
thing.
not Steve Buscemi's kid, you just super insulted that dude.
Yeah, that's,
I mean,
Are
do you know who
talking
I'm talking about?
Are you
Is it-
talking about Skarsgård?
I don't
Yeah,
No.
think so.
Oh,
No,
okay.
there. Yeah,
I think
because
I know
there's
the
there's
guy
the-
he's
Oh,
talking.
okay.
Skarsgård's like Skarsgård is the Pennywise, right?
Yeah, Pennywise.
Yeah, he
Okay,
showed he
sorry.
was like in a hospital bed.
Yeah, I don't know. The one guy looked exactly like Steve Buscemi. They showed him a couple times. It was
That's
very
tough.
strange.
that's a tough lot in
Oh,
life.
well, can I,
Yeah, like
since
a-
I
a
didn't see
younger,
this
handsome.
promo, can I make a personal announcement? A piece of my artwork is going to be on set in a Steve Buscemi show on TBS in the
Really?
fall.
Oh, nice.
That's
What?
awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked.
Will you find out about his kid for me?
Yes, I will. I'll
Nice.
be like, what's your kid think about this art piece?
Hey, since Cece's plugging her work, and it is Women in Horror Month, go check out Grim Horror Magazine too to see
Yes.
Cece's awesome painted cover.
Yes, I have a
Wow.
write up in there too.
Nice.
Nice.
I assume
Cece, are
it's
you
like
still gonna do the show?
Yes,
over the
sorry. I literally just heard about that art piece like 2 hours ago. So I'm like, I have to tell everyone that I know
I
about
just
That
mean
is
when you're
pretty
like
awesome.
super famous and the
I
rest
know,
of us
this
are,
is-
sitting
I'm
there without
impressed.
artwork.
Still
It
get
took me
famous
like
that.
2 years to outgrow this show, but you've done it in like less than one. Good for you.
No. Artists don't get the same notoriety as other mediums.
As Real Housewife podcasters.
Yeah. Exactly.
What's the name of the magazine, CC? If people want to check it out,
It's called Grimm Magazine.
and it was
And-
like a collaboration with a bunch of horror ladies, right?
Yes. You can find it on anatomyofascream.com, or there's also a way you can search for it on Blurb, but you can get a digital download or a physical copy, like printed copy. I think they're like $13.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Check it out. The other thing I wanted to mention was I was curious if anybody's watching Altered Carbon because I want reports on that show.
I'm not, and I'm very interested to start.
Yeah,
I've
heard
watched the
lots
first
things
3 of
about
them.
it.
Yeah, what do you think?
I like it, and I read the book originally, the first book of the series that it's based on, and they're doing pretty good. It's got I can't think of the guy's name as the main star. We've seen him
Joel
in
Kinnaman.
huh?
His name is Joel Kinnaman.
Yes, him. He seems to be doing pretty good, and he pulls it off rather well. It's one, I will warn you, it's one that you need to be ready to sit down and pay attention just because there's a lot going on the screen and the storytelling itself. So internet distractions is not going to help you. So, which was a problem I suffered, but first 3, I enjoyed a lot. It's got a good noir feel to it, a good Blade Runner feel to it. So, yeah.
Cool. Very nice. And I'm pretty pumped for Castle Rock too, but then it's like on Hulu, and then I'm like, well, I guess I'll never see it because Hulu, you know, I feel like everybody has that one service at least that they don't pay for. I can't
You
have all.
don't know any. Do you need my login for Hulu? So you
Yes.
I
can
could give
watch
you
it?
Hulu,
Yes.
not login, Eric.
Yeah, I think you can get it handled.
I will take
Yeah.
I will take either or.
Okay.
We might be borrowing a Hulu login. The only challenge is they don't let you use more than one screen at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, now you can pay for it because I have to pay for it because my brother uses mine and I have a group text that I'm like, get off Hulu because I'm trying to watch it. So
I should
I
probably
can
just sign
add
up.
you to that.
It really is pretty good. Like they've got some good shit on there.
Do they
so-
Yeah,
still
they do.
now?
I
This,
know $11 a month is hard for you, John, but
Yeah, well, exactly. And I feel badly.
this is
now,
gonna
so.
show
I assume
you.
the patrons are paying for this.
This will show you how long it's been since I've been on paid Hulu. Do they still show commercials if you pay?
There's like a commercial-free version.
yeah, there's
so
cheer for that.
I pay for the commercial free and the multi-screen and I think it's like $12-13.
That's that freaking blinged out
Oh,
experience.
I'm
right there.
a professional artist now.
There you go.
Hulu.
Yeah, she's gonna have art on TV,
She's
man.
hanging out with Steve Buscemi. She's got that upgraded Hulu situation.
You
Can
know,
you
what can
afford
I
that,
say?
John?
I don't know. I gotta look at my checkbook.
Hulu,
Yeah.
your checkbook. What are you 90?
Oh. Get my pocketbook, and
Yeah.
I will.
Just gonna finish balancing my account here. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Hey Joe,
Oh, what's up, man?
what are we drinking tonight? Beer guts.
Cloverfield Paradox. It's a movie about the Cloverfields standing on two sides of the shore on opposing docks. You get that, John? Paradox.
Oh,
Man, impressive.
Hey. Anywho, so this whole thing, John will, spend 45 minutes summarizing it, but pretty much these folks go in space, try and, cure the world's energy problems. Meanwhile, they don't realize back down on Earth, shit's hitting the fan with the Cloverfield monsters. And in honor of that shit and that fan, I picked a beer from Mikkeller Brewery, which is actually based out of Denmark. And this is their Invasion IPA. So they're based out of Denmark, but they actually brew this one stateside. They have a couple agreements with Drake's Brewing, which is out in California, and Against the Grain, which is in Kentucky. So they usually collab on this one, but really it's their beer. So Invasion IPA is a little different because it's actually a sour as well. So sours, I haven't done a ton of them, but I'm a fan. I just don't drink a ton of them. It's an interesting style of beer because it tastes absolutely nothing like your typical beer, like what John's drinking tonight. They're, as you might expect, sour in flavor. They come in a bunch of different sort of shades and varieties. This one, an IPA mixed with a sour, is a little different because you don't see a ton of these. So it has like that hop sort of punch up front, but and then sort of blends into the sour. So it's a really interesting beer. They distribute pretty far. You can get it throughout most of the U.S. So if you see this one, I definitely recommend you pick it up. Comes in at 8% alcohol, so it's definitely higher than your average beer too. So, and again, like the sourness and the hops and everything really cover up any sort of alcohol flavor. So, you can get into trouble with this one. Their website is Mikkeller. That's MIKKELLER.DK. From Denmark. And definitely check them out. Like, I don't drink a ton of beers from outside the U.S. Usually just because they're not as fresh because they go through all the shipping and all that. But these guys are pretty well known, and they do a lot of collaboration with U.S. breweries too. So you can find a lot of their beers here stateside, and they're still super good. So definitely check them out.
They have a brew. I don't know, if it's a collaboration brew pub or what, but there's the Mikkeller bar in San Francisco actually.
Oh, really? I was not aware of that.
And it is a delight.
Nice. Yeah. Everything I've had of theirs is really good. Admittedly, I haven't had a ton, but what I have has been very good.
very nice. Joe,
you.
with that hat, I feel like you're gonna ask me to turn the bass up.
You'll turn me up in the headphones.
Yeah, less treble. All right, guys, it is time. Let us take a quick break and review the Cloverfield Paradox.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Fuck the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars.
Yes. Eric.
Your,
Newell.
your life story actually becomes like even more amazing when you think about the fact that you're from Philly.
Mm.
Like really,
Tell it
it's
from the beginning.
really it's a story about it's a story about kind of overshooting your origins.
Just let him go, CC. Let him go.
You know?
Sure.
How close to the movie Philadelphia would you say your life resembles?
This is amazing.
I've been called a young Denzel Washington many times, actually. So
I was gonna go for the Tom Hanks.
You've been-
I knew what you were doing there, Joe.
You
what
do
you were
look
doing.
sickly as of late.
All right, John Schnars. Well, please get rid of all the horse poop out of your mouth and bring us the word of the day.
Today's word, Eric. Parallax. Parallax. Parallax is the effect whereby the position or direction of an object appears to differ when viewed from different positions. So it's typically something you'll hear referenced in sort of like photography, cinematography, those types of things, like the way different lenses can make things appear. But yeah, parallax. It actually comes basically from the Greek. Let's say there's a Greek word parallaxis, which means a change, but it can be traced back to earlier words that mean alternate or exchange.
Oh. I know it as the thing that happens in Castlevania Symphony of the Night with the different backgrounds moving at different speeds, so they look like there's 3D thing going on.
Sure, yeah, that's one of the most commonly referenced uses of the word.
Very common in that day of video games there, John.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
All right, John,
Yeah.
tell me about Cloverfield.
Cloverfield paradox. Again, I mean, in some ways, and I'm sure we'll get into it. We got into it a little earlier, but the most interesting thing here is kind of the story of how this movie got to where it is. This is the third film in the Cloverfield. It's hard to call it a series. Again, like I actually want to have this conversation at some point because the movies are.
Cloververse.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
call it-
actually pretty good.
Yeah, or like an anthology, sort of, in the
Nice.
traditional.
Yeah, I mean, the films just have like so little to do with each other. It's almost like amazing. But in any event, this is, I mean, all right, so there's a lot of ways we could approach this. It's directed by Julius Ona.
Before,
He's
I just
actually-
want to say, I think we're going to get like full-on spoilers with this because we have a lot we have to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it would almost be hard for us to get too into it without doing that. But Julius Ona, I did a little bit of research on this guy before the show. It's pretty interesting. This is essentially his first feature film. He's a graduate of NYU's film school. And when he was in NYU film school, like as a graduate program, Spike Lee produced his sort of like thesis film. So like he must have connections. It looks like he's done some theater work. He's done a bunch of short films as well.
Who
And
wrote it? Because that's the person I have the most questions for.
well, yeah. So that's the other thing I was going to hit on real quick. So the story is credited to Doug Young, I guess, Jung. He's probably best known for he wrote Star Trek Beyond, one of the more recent Star Trek films. I guess it was the last one. He's done a bunch of TV, including Banshee, which I don't know if we've never really talked about Banshee, but that show's fucking great. He did a couple episodes of Big Love. Like he's not super well known. And then the other guy, is the guy who actually wrote the screenplay, Oren Uziel, wrote 22 Jump Street, which was like the sequel one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, he's credited with the screenplay there, and then otherwise has like done nothing else. He has another
Why would you?
well, he has another Netflix joint called Shimmer Lake, which I don't know if anyone's seen or heard of that. And he is currently announced to be working on Mortal Kombat.
Like for real
Oh.
Mortal Kombat?
Or just like playing it.
No, like the fake one. Yeah, I guess. I
I
don't know.
refuse to hear you just say
I'm
Mortal
sorry,
Kombat
John. I
and
think
not
you
scream.
pronounced that wrong. It's pronounced Mortal Kombat.
No, no,
Right,
no,
that's,
no, no, no.
that's the real
Ever
one.
since you found out that Cece can afford like full-on Hulu, you've been very, very confrontational towards her.
Actually, Casey, to be fair, it's Mortal Kombat.
That's true.
So apparently there's a new Mortal Kombat coming, and this guy is gonna be writing that. Yeah, I mean, Eric, to your point, like
Finish him.
well, there's not some huge horsepower around the screenplay here, and I think that we can get into some of where that might have impacted the output. Yeah, I mean, high level, this is it's a story of it's a sci-fi movie. It's sort of a trapped in space closed door, locked door mystery in some ways. Like you've got a crew of international people that are on this space station where they're trying to solve the world's energy crisis
And,
and
avert all-out war in the process.
Yeah, so in this like sort of alternate reality, the Earth is like on the brink of war because we're running out of. They keep talking about like energy, like it's like a. They're like, oh, we're
Energy.
using up all the energy, but it's like they didn't. They kind of gloss over like what like. Could they not figure out
Batteries.
solar? Like I don't
Mostly batteries.
It's
I
like
assume we're talking
near,
about.
it's kind of near future sci-fi in that it has a lot of technology that's never quite explained and seems semi-magical.
Right. Yeah.
There's a ton of hand waviness, not just about the energy stuff, but in any event. So you got it's like a big cast. I think there's like 8 or 9 astronauts that are sort of living on this space station, and they're trying to use this particle accelerator to essentially create like unlimited energy, which would then solve this energy crisis on Earth. However, we're like very early on in the film told essentially in a television interview starring one Donald Logue. You guys familiar with the work of Donald Logue?
Always.
Yeah, so he is basically just like ranting and raving about the quote unquote Cloverfield paradox, so the name of the ship they're on is the Cloverfield, and he keeps saying that if they're successful, they're going to tear this hole in space-time and it's going to.
So what they're doing is they're doing the like the same thing as the Large Hadron Particle Collider Accelerator or whatever, where they're
but
slamming
like on an unlimited basis.
they're
basically.
slamming atoms together at the speed of light or some shit, and it's kind of based on real life, right? Because
You are actually ascribing more scientific sort of reality
Well, no,
to this
but
than
it's
was
totally-
ever described.
No,
in the
but I
film.
mean, but they're totally cribbing off that idea, because even when that
Right.
happened, there were lots of conspiracy theories about how they were going to rip open space-time and like,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so
and-
the reason why they're in space is because they were worried about firing this thing off on Earth, basically.
Yeah, on Earth. And they
Yeah.
there is a reference to the Higgs boson at one point, which is what they sort of quote unquote discovered at that Hadron Collider. But yeah, so long and short of it is they're trying to do this, and shock of shocks, they succeed, and the Cloverfield paradox was correct, and these dimensions crash into each other, and then just like crazy shit starts happening. And the rest of the film, it's like really not even worth getting into what happens, because like the rest of the film is just like anything goes. Like there's like any possible outcome is now like on the table, because like they've had these dimensional disturbances, and so it's just like, well, I guess like crazy shit's happening now. So
Yeah.
Here's a woman in the wall.
yeah.
All right. Cloverfield, The Paradox, the movie. Joe,
Yes, sir.
give it to me, buddy.
I enjoyed this quite a bit. I was not a huge fan of the first Cloverfield. I think we all really enjoyed 10 Cloverfield Lane. I was kind of expecting this, I have no idea why, but to be more of a sequel to the first Cloverfield, and it's really not. Like, we'll talk about it. You guys brought up some really good points in the email. You kind of have to suspend belief for a lot of this. But I mean, for a movie that just popped up out of nowhere and we watched it like within a day, like it's a really fun sort of find for Netflix. And I think for what it is, it helps pass the time, as the kids say. And I thought I really like what's that guy from the IT crowd?
That guy.
Chris
O'Dowd.
O'Dowd.
Yeah. Like the moment I saw he was in this, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be fine with this. Like he is just fun in everything that he does, and I really liked his character. Some wacky stuff happens to him, but like
He's the Irish one, which all those well-known Irish astronauts. I thought that was like pretty good.
What are you trying to say, John?
There's one guy who's supposed to be from Germany, and for most of the film, I didn't feel like he was actually trying to even do an accent. And then just amps it up to 11 at one point.
We can talk about that, dude, because it was hilarious to find out that he is actually German. So I hate to break it to him, but his actual German
had to
accent,
drop that knowledge on everybody.
His actual German accent is really atrocious.
All of us non-German German.
I mean, that's only because I'm watching The Alienist, and he's like the main guy in The Alienist. So.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was a lot of fun.
German.
Casey.
So I really, really love 10 Cloverfield Lane. I like Cloverfield a lot, but I don't know that I gave it quite the reverence that other fans of it did. I just didn't get as much out of it. I understand why they did. I'm not knocking it, though. I enjoyed it. So this one, I got really hyped up by the excitement of not watching the Super Bowl and having Eric text us out of nowhere. Holy shit, did you see that? And then digging into it and finding out it was coming right away. I think more than anything, I'm more excited like the historical ramifications this has for the film industry on how they release this film and everything. But that's not really what we're here for. For the movie itself, I enjoyed this movie for the most part. I thought it was fun up until probably about the last 5 minutes, and then I thought it kind of lost its steam. I've heard some people say it was a little slow in the middle, and I can agree to that. But I bought into the pseudoscience and everything that was going on in there. I thought the cast was pretty solid, and it was a pretty fun ride up until that because I couldn't really figure out where the hell they were going there for a while.
You know, the funny thing is, like, I have like some nitpicks with the movie, but the pacing was not one of them. But
no, I thought it went by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, it gets right into it. Like there is very little fucking around.
All right, we're gonna try this. Hey, Mark, what'd you think of this?
Hey, I liked it. I think it benefited a lot from I didn't see it immediately after the Super Bowl when everyone else like jumped on top of it. And I feel like people were generally disappointed with it. So I kind of went in with low expectations, and I found that I actually really enjoyed it, even though it makes absolutely no sense. Specifically the ending. Like I was kind of on board with the parallel universe thing, but the ending just was like so completely over the top nonsensical.
The Super Bowl ends at 10:30. Who are these monsters staying up after that to watch a movie? I don't understand your life.
Night dwelling black t-shirt people
On a Sunday, no less.
I mean, if you're on the West Coast, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
But
okay.
the
fair.
new class did a tweet with BGH after.
Well, they're all crazy. They're all crazy.
Spring chicken's a lot of them.
You know those youngins, Joe, filled with hormones and cocaine and all that stuff. Hey, Cece, what'd you think, Cece?
I really, really liked it a lot. I liked the first Cloverfield a lot when it came out, and I really liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. I did not see anything going into it because I was definitely asleep during the game, but I don't know. I know that a lot of sci-fi and, quantum theory, parallel universe movies ask for a lot of suspension of disbelief, but I was fully on board. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I had very little to nitpick with it.
John.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it a lot. So, I mean, obviously we haven't had a ton of time to sit with this movie because it was just released. I'm going to probably go a little harder than I did originally, which is to say, like, the movie is just fucking goofy. Like, it's really...
It's a little fucky at times.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, Eric, you kind of mentioned it, right? Like, the pacing is so fast, and there's actually, like, a ton of plot. Like, there's always something that they're, like, doing or that's something that's happening. And
you know what I learned from this movie?
What's up with that? Huh?
No, but like
I learned that I could be a space engineer because all it takes is putting goop on something and then stabbing it with this other thing.
It's
stabbing it with a stun gun.
I literally at one point thought, like, dude, he could die and they'd be fine because anybody can do that.
Yeah.
No.
My point is that, like, when there's that much stuff happening in a sci-fi film, they're probably trying to not give you a lot of time to think about all of the things that are happening because they don't make any goddamn sense. A
lot about the space foam, John.
John, you mean like the entirety of humanity did this project to do this laser thing and no one ever thought about ventilation at any point?
Yeah. Well, someone brought up like allowing them to print a gun on this.
That was me.
Thing,
yeah, I'll get to that.
Like, don't let them have guns. Yeah.
Bagels and guns.
Yeah.
The bagel gun machine.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that if you think about it too hard
Yeah.
or even like a little bit, it doesn't make
Yeah.
any friggin' sense. And all that said, like, I agree with everything you guys said. I thought the cast was actually really, really good. I think the direction is really good. Like, the script is just an abomination, but the direction I thought was really solid. It looked really good. He's obviously like borrowing a ton from a lot of movies like Event. I mean, the plot of this and Event Horizon are like remarkably similar, other than like Event Horizon's like demons being released from the
It's
other
very
dimension. and
it's
this is
very
just,
like it's very like a modern day Event Horizon kind of thing.
yeah. Well, with like less, Latin speaking,
Right.
Eventing.
naked,
Yeah.
floating people.
I
But yeah.
I would say that this movie is pretty fine. Like,
Yeah.
I think the thing that hurts this movie the most is following up 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I'd like to disagree with Casey's wrong take on that movie. That movie is like legitimately amazing and was one of the top
Oh,
10 horror
I
movies of that year.
I loved a 10
He said it was
Cloverfield Lane.
good.
I thought you said you
Cloverfield.
didn't like it as. Oh, you meant the
No,
original. Okay.
Cloverfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Your take is
No,
correct.
I thought 10 Cloverfield Lane was fucking amazing.
Yeah. So, and like, look,
Eric's just making up takes now.
it's just okay. So, like, this actual movie
John's the one who said he
is
hated.
this actual movie is fairly entertaining. I think it's paced well. I think it has some nice visual moments. The idea of just dumping on Netflix is pretty cool. Hyping it up the Super Bowl, neat idea. If this was the next thing that happened after the last Cloverfield, maybe I'd be a little more forgiving with some of the inconsistencies, specifically with the script, which we really have to get into. But I think it suffers following up 10 Cloverfield Lane because it's just not on that. It's not on that level of production. That movie had John fucking Goodman in it, and like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. It had this incredible cast. It was this like diamond in the rough script, crazy tension, and then this nice little kind of Twilight Zone-y twist ending. This thing is like just none of the individual pieces are on par with that, right? Like the directing is mostly fine. I think that the actors seem very amateurish in this movie. Like, it feels very direct to video in a lot of places.
I think it's hard to separate that from the script, though. Like, the shit they're saying is just like nonsensical.
Yeah,
I think
it's very basic
Th-
plot
this
momentum.
movie-
Like, there's not a whole lot.
This movie does a thing that I feel like is getting more prominent with modern movies. I think about this a lot, whether or not this happened in old movies and I just was forgiving or didn't notice it, or if I'm just noticing it now. But I feel like lately we see a lot of things where plot decisions are made and not justified. And it's like, I don't need to 100% believe like the justification, but like at least feign to make something up to explain why this is happening, other than, oh, look, this would be really cool if this happened. Like, that's fine, but make up some bullshit universe excuse for me to understand that, right? Like, there's just so many inconsistencies. At one point, and John just mentioned this, but at one point a character uses their 3D printer to print out a gun. And this might be a nerdy thing, but like, I'm sorry, there's no way they send a 3D printer up there with the capability of printing out a gun. There's just no way. Like, that's the whole point of those things.
it was like a really cool gun, too.
Yeah,
I
and
was
it,
gonna say,
like,
I
kind
mean,
of
I
like
didn't think it
cool
was like
sci-fi
a
gun.
real gun. I thought that it was more like a laser
well, listen,
gun.
No, it had
or like,
bullets.
but it doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
point of those things is you put
Oh, okay.
you put
I mean,
like
that's fine. It doesn't. I mean, I was gonna say I know that it's still a gun. I just meant
I'm
like
saying
I
you
thought
put-
that it was more of
Get
a
off
futuristic
her
gun.
back, John.
Well, no. The point is, you would never, you would have some kind of software in that thing that would not allow it to make, I don't know, deadly weapons in space. You know
They
what I
didn't
mean?
have time to think of the DRM because they were rushing with the energy crisis
So,
and whatnot.
And then
I
it's
mean,
like
you could make a knife, right? With like any usual.
we get into the middle of the film, and they start
Katana,
they,
maybe?
they start theorizing that they've sort of at first they think maybe they're stuck between universes, or that universes are
Yeah.
overlapping or something, and that's the point at which this really weird stuff starts happening, like the dude's arm going into the wall for no reason, and then his arm being cut off, and then the lady in the thing. But then later on, they kind of just decide, no, actually, like we are just in a different universe. So it's like, okay, how do you explain the arm thing then? Because now that makes
Yeah.
no sense at all.
There's no universe where the arm thing makes any sense. Like that was literally just like, This will be
I
a
thought
cool
that was
visual.
yeah,
like,
like
And
I
again-
thought that was just like a glitch in the Matrix. Like I thought that
Yeah.
that was just like showing that they're glitching between
But it's just
realities.
it's just
but
not.
then why
That's
is
how I
consistent.
think
everybody
a lot of
not
this.
like falling through the floor? Like there's
Well,
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
parts of it. Like I mean,
Yeah.
of course, like you can, you know, if you're a scientist, you can argue that that's
But
not.
my point
I
is,
just-
it feels
it
like
actually was the
something.
panel that the woman was behind, actually. So I take it all back.
My
Never mind,
point-
it makes total sense.
my point is, it feels like
100%.
it feels like something that a writer came up
Wow.
with the visual because they thought it would be
Yeah.
cool, and then they worked backwards to try to get it in the movie, and this whole movie is just filled with things like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
plus that scene gets us all those great arm gags. So
Yeah, it's
This
like
is true.
it's crazy. It's weird.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I also have some problems with some of the main characterization towards the end, like with her decision making, and they do actually try to justify that, but I don't really buy it. And the whole thing with the husband back on Earth feels so tacked on. It's not really given enough time to breathe, I don't think. And
Well, I think it's actually given like way too much time.
I
Because
was gonna say that it kind of. Yeah,
I can't
would've
remember-
rather
I
it
can't
been
remember the
no
last-
idea what you're supposed to take away from any of that.
I can't remember the last time in a movie that anytime they cut to a character like that, I was like, I want to be back in the ship.
Well,
I want to know what's
he-
happening in the ship.
He didn't. There was no arc to his story.
Yeah.
Like, what was his arc? And also, who was that girl that he found? Was she supposed to like do something? Like, did something happen to
No.
her that I didn't see?
Yeah, he found her at the
He
hospital. She
saved
was
her
just a
from
survivor.
he
Yeah.
saved her from whatever, and then
But like,
I think
why?
what it
gotta
is
imagine
like
she'll tie into something
Because
else.
he's
I
a
think.
Yeah.
nurse and he's a good guy and cares about
I
helping
think
people.
I think that they needed an Earth character at the end of the movie to provide that little moment, but
Where
I
he's
think
like, don't let her come back.
yeah, and but like
basically.
but then I think they probably felt it was weird to have that happen if he just is gone for 90 minutes of the movie
Well,
and he comes back.
How about the fact that like
Especially-
I was just gonna say like he was like able to use the phone, but then he wasn't able to use the phone, but then it was like he like it was.
Well, I've
There's
chalked
no
that up to
logic
like
to,
if your like wife is the second in command on a spaceship, that you would get like more of a government phone for like emergencies, but that was
Yeah.
just
So-
me
I can't
guessing.
even
Government phone.
keep my phone charged.
I'm sorry,
and
my
I have
mom worked for
access
the
to
government and
electricity
had a
all the time.
government phone, so there's some weird ass shit with that.
Alright,
I will
hey.
tell you.
So I do wanna-
Shit, John just got shut the fuck down.
I do want to say though, like I'm not. It sounds like I am, but I'm actually not totally negative on this movie. I just think it's sloppy in ways that 10 Cloverfield Lane was decidedly not
Oh, yeah,
sloppy, and so it
sure.
sticks out.
And I get
But-
to
Like
I
I
think the
I
other
love the
problem-
idea. The idea they're setting up that basically, and again, like we warned, but like spoiler town, the idea they're setting up that this firing of this Higgs boson thing basically created the rift in a bunch of like all the universes or whatever, right? Which can basically explain away the first two movies and any other movie that comes down. I really like that idea. I like the idea. I love the concept of like all of a sudden Earth is gone. Like that's really wild. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fun things about this movie, and generally I'm like pretty down with it. I just wish it was like tighter, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that because yeah, I mean, I think that doing it like creating a third movie that is just more of establishing a larger universe for anything to happen is really genius because now you can bring in different writers, different directors, different characters that can loosely tie together and really elongate this lifetime of
And
this
And it
series.
really does actually completely explain the first Cloverfield movie now. It's just in a more kind of esoteric way than maybe you would have wanted. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, the universe is crazy and these monsters popped in, and it's like, but I'm also kind of okay with that because it gives them the freedom to kind of tell whatever kind of stories they want.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
that's
mean-
the beauty. They can do anything.
Yeah, like I like that it's setting it up for this twilight zone of random stories that'll just kind of pop up every couple of years, and it's like, oh, here's another Cloverfield movie that is it might be this movie was kind of loose and not really as cleanly put together as 10 Cloverfield Lane, but the next one could be as good as 10 Cloverfield Lane, and you can still appreciate it all as a as a unit rather than just saying, well, the first three were okay and this last one was awesome.
Did any of you guys see the link that Casey sent out like right before the show?
Yeah.
That basically, if you sync this up with the first movie, that the second they fire the thing off is when the lights go out in the original Cloverfield. Like the same, like literally.
It's like the timing from the start.
It's pretty spooky, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other Easter eggs. Like there's one or two characters that like allude to other characters in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, the newscaster, who's the woman from Silicon Valley. She was in 10 Cloverfield Lane as well.
Interesting.
So
if you play Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon right from the beginning as well.
But like that's fun. Like, you know, in 10 years, like when you go back and watch these movies, you can be like, okay, like this is neat, or like there's, you know, a new theory.
That's cool, and it's the kind of like fun thing that makes this series unique.
I will go on record and say I wanted, or certainly for the next film, I'm gonna need there to be way more of the monsters.
Oh, like, for sure.
And they, you know, they did it right at the end.
I almost like
the film's already shot.
The
film is already shot. It's coming out in October, and it takes place in World War II.
It came out yesterday.
It's gonna be
well, that right, because one of the things they say,
direct to Crackle.
One of the things
no one subscribes to that.
One of the things they
MLB
say
halftime show.
One of the things they say in this movie is that it could affect universes past and present. That's one of the things I think Donald Logue says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am really curious. I don't know if you guys want to talk more about the movie.
Yeah,
I
we should.
do think there's like a conversation about the release and kind of the way this was handled, because this was scheduled to go theatrical. Like we saw trailers for The God Particle, which is what this was originally called, and it like this was like kind of out there for a while. And I don't know, maybe it got reshot, maybe like who the hell knows. I'm curious, like if anyone's read anything about it, but this was definitely, so I do wonder if J.J. Abrams and sort of other folks behind this didn't kind of watch it and go,
yeah,
like,
maybe it's possible.
Yeah,
maybe we just kind of make a marketing event out of it.
Yeah. Had I seen this in theater, I probably would not have enjoyed it
yeah,
nearly half as much.
100% agree.
Yeah, I think it being on Netflix allows you to be more forgiving with it for sure.
I think like with the business discussion part of it, it all comes down to finding out if JJ went to Netflix or Netflix came to them.
Right. Like
how did that
part of the transaction come about?
When's the last time we've watched a movie for the show that we had like zero hype for, or like any sort of like preconceived notions? Like it's such like an interesting way to go about doing this, because I turned this on, I had no idea what it was even going to be about. I just knew it was a
Yeah, because I had never seen the trailers. I knew y'all had talked about it before, but I never saw the trailer.
I do remember. I'm not sure if I saw the trailer or not. I do remember like hearing and being aware.
I don't think anything God Particle was anything that they showed us was close to this. I'm not saying it's not the. I'm not saying that this wasn't God Particle.
No, I remember John talking about it before. Yeah. Like he had said, like multiple times had been brought up.
I'm not saying that this movie was never God Particle or anything like that. I'm thinking that was long enough ago. The trailer we saw was nothing closely related to what we actually just watched.
I would like to talk about some more stuff in the actual movie. If anyone has like things they want to bring up, favorite moments.
Well, did you have a thing, or did you just don't want to talk about it?
No, I think
like when they projected Prince onto
the woman in the wall was really exciting for me. Like I was like, this is off to a good start.
I really like I know you, Eric, you mentioned a few things over email. Like I loved her character. Like I love how like, stone faced she is, and like you have no idea what's going on there.
And I think that's really like I think them casting her, because she often plays characters like that. I think casting her for that specific role was really smart, because you know they're talking about this other dimension. You have one person from the other dimension, and you're like, well, does that mean that she's automatically bad? Like, is she ambivalent? Like, what exactly are they doing?
Yeah.
And she really embodies that.
Part of my issue is her delivery. I feel like it could have been more nuanced. She's kind of just a blank slate for the whole movie, and then she just turns to a villain for some reason.
She woke up in a wall.
Weirdly super evil.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think she did go evil.
No.
They do the same thing that they were doing.
No. Her motivation from the script makes 100% perfect sense. Her acting in no way sold that. Her acting was like she literally turned and made like her face turned evil, and she was like, bam, like oh, like it was just silly. I totally understand the idea of why she would want to do that. I just think the acting was like not great.
I thought
I
that
never had a
she
problem
around
with
that
it.
way because she realized that her friend didn't take the pod, and that
The-
she turned around that she was pissed off that now she's gonna have to kill her friend.
The other problem is
which is-
it's instantaneous too, like because they don't know what to do with her for a good 30 minutes of the movie. She disappears and has no lines for almost a
Yeah.
half an hour.
Well, she's like in the infirmary, but just completely out of sight.
But
out
then
of
there,
mind.
but there are even scenes that she's in where she's just standing in the background, not saying anything, and you're like, oh yeah, that lady's here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Funny aside about that actress. So she's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I thought that that character in Guardians of the Galaxy was Sansa from Game of Thrones. Just throwing that out there. They look
she's
very
also
similar.
she's
When they're
also
painted
the
gold.
girlfriend. She's also the girlfriend in The Night Manager.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
that's
gosh,
the
she was
place I've
awesome
seen
in
her.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she was really good in that. You're right.
I really, as much as it was out of place and didn't make sense on why it happened, everything that happened after Chris O'Dowd lost his arm was pretty funny.
I mean, Chris O'Dowd is just pretty good
It's
in general.
great.
I
Like,
mean,
just
think one of
from
the-
the moment where he said, "Holy shit, that's my arm."
Well,
I mean,
it was
I
super
thought the
cheesy.
like over the top deaths were all pretty good. I
Yeah,
thought like
I was-
like
I was on board for
specifically the freezing one where like all of that water freezes at
Oh,
once. I
yeah,
thought
that was
was a pretty cool.
Don't you think
visual.
if they unfroze her, she would still be alive, like Walt Disney? I kept thinking like she was gonna somehow come back.
Can anyone
It is the future, Joe.
can anybody
So,
explain to me why they had worms on the ship?
Well,
I think it
because-
was like a food thing. Like I would
Ooh.
assume they were using it for protein.
I'm sure it was another
Ugh.
experiment.
I thought it was experiments. I thought it
Yeah.
was kind of like how coal miners take
Well, that's what I,
birds down
That's
with them.
exactly
that
what
it's
I
just
thought.
Yeah, I
too.
was
It
wondering-
Like
Like
a 1,000 worms.
I was wondering if it was like a canary in the coal mine kind of thing.
Are you an astronaut? Do you know?
No. Hey,
Well-
well, here's the thing that's weird about this. And again, like some
That's
of this
more of
doesn't.
an explanation than the movie gave me.
Well, but some of this doesn't like come across in the movie. Like they were up there for like 2 years.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe somebody
Yeah.
just wanted to bring their worm farm. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
look, I'll go help you with this, but I'm not leaving my worms.
Well, I didn't know if maybe because it's like more of a singular like organism that maybe they were trying to like combine it with like, some sort of energy source or some shit. I don't know. I was just like,
I love
there
all the
for a reason.
scientific extrapolation that's going into this.
Yeah.
movie. It's like
I got
amazing.
worms.
I will posit my favorite character was the Russian character.
Yeah.
I thought he was like one of the better actors. Like he got more scenery to chew. So instead of like kind of I don't know, ridiculous dialogue, he was just like yelling at people a lot and like threatening them, which I enjoyed.
I don't know if he was my favorite character, but I did like that the way that they used him for the reveal that there's weird shit going on the space
Yeah.
station after they made the jump. The whole thing with him keep rubbing his face
Yep,
and whatnot.
yep.
As soon as he started rubbing his eyes, my first thought was, "Oh shit, something's gonna happen to his face." And then that part though, like in the later on when he's in his bathroom, looking in the
eye
mirror
just
and his
goes
fucking eye goes shit
But
to
on
the side.
top
It's like,
of that,
oh my
like,
god.
I thought it was, but see, that's why I was thinking about the worm situation. So, like, somehow the worms get into him, right? And then there's a moment when he's talking in the mirror, and he starts, like, he's having a two-way conversation, and then it turns to just one-sided. And I thought that was a really interesting, like, does that mean, like, the Cloverfield monsters are, like, part worm? Like, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot to unpack there, and I needed more.
What?
See, just with me and
Dude, I
my
was
You
at
were-
work,
you
and I
had
like
Dark
took my
Side of the Moon
earphones
on in
out,
the
and I was
background,
like,
didn't
wait,
you?
what?
So me with my geek theorizing when I was watching this movie, I could buy into the fact because early on when the weird shit started happening and they started talking about the possibility that maybe their dimensions are colliding and whatnot, I could buy into that. Weird shit's gonna happen. Chris O'Dowd's arm's gonna get sucked into the wall. There's gonna be worms in that dude because there's two dimensions crossing, and the chick's gonna end up in the wall. I dig all that stuff. It was cool, but then they blow all that away by saying no, we're in another universe, and then it all falls apart.
No, I mean, that's still going to happen. Like, if your universe is colliding, why wouldn't that still happen? Like, that doesn't mean one thing can't happen and the other can.
I
It
mean,
just
true.
means, look, if you had two universes colliding, all these things are shaken up, and then when it settles, you realize you're in another dimension.
Yeah.
Cece,
It
I
just
can't
the-
believe
just the way they
you.
describe
I
the-
can't believe you,
the
as the
dimensions
supposed
like-
smart person on the show, are sticking up for these screenwriters.
Listen, quantum physics and like
Because this
Eric's
shit,
awake.
like
This shit
all
is
of that
dumb.
shit makes up for a lot. Like, you get a lot of leeway there.
They couldn't just.
And
like,
also, yes, Smack
they-
is a super powerful.
I mean, they couldn't just have thrown in one line to explain to me why they had a giant thing of worms on the ship. There were no other animals, no other insects, no other experiments. Just tell me why the worms are there. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like because you like to stick them up your butt and you want to have a fresh supply. Just give me a line that explains that.
I gotta imagine
Yes.
that's on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Because the only
Butt
line,
worms.
the only acknowledgement they gave the worms, I mean, they showed it to us earlier. The only acknowledgement of the worms we got was Chris O'Dowd saying, guys, the worms are gone.
You know what?
I
To me,
feel like
the
this is
worms.
not the first time I've seen they've taken worms into space.
I know.
Like,
Didn't that happen in life? Like,
To
I'm
me,
looking this up.
To me, the thing
Yeah.
that like the worms represent is that I really like this. I actually really like this movie. I came out of it. I had some complaints, but I enjoyed it. But as the day has gone on afterwards, it's like each one of these little plot holes is like a worm in my brain that just keeps like boring its way deeper and deeper. And
Like the Russian guy.
yeah, and it's all I can think about now is just some of the crazy shit that happens in this movie.
I mean, out of all the like nonsensical space shit that happened, the one thing that I really didn't understand was how like so much of the like latter half of this movie was them trying to fix the ship and they needed everyone's help. And then by the end, they just needed like 1.5 people to do it.
Yeah, again, like the fix that they come up with for the thing is so silly. If you're gonna make it, I don't care what it is, but make it sound so smart that I don't understand what it is, but I go, oh wow, that was a smart science thing they came up with, right? Literally, their explanation is so dumb. There's no way this wasn't something that was considered while they were building this thing. No? Anyone?
I don't know.
Did everyone mute? at the
Reading
same
about
time?
worms in space. Now.
yeah.
Like it's like the amount of thought they have to put into just getting a rocket into the air, and the amount they worry about moisture and condensation and stuff, but yet they didn't consider it at all in the building of this laser. But they did have handy vents that could open to like let it out. I mean, just how hard is it to come up with some shit that just sounds smart that I won't understand?
The screenwriters were just like, we're not gonna bother.
That's what I'm saying. And
Well, I
it's
was
like
gonna say, like,
every-
it sounds
gonna
like they
bother.
weren't double checked. Like after
Every-
they wrote it,
like,
they
every
weren't like, oh,
moment-
let's ask a professional.
They're
This-
like, do we know any scientists? No,
Nah.
I don't. So
I
This-
Googled
Just
it,
say
and
it's
nothing
too
came up.
moist in
This
here.
movie just keeps like it keeps giving you, it keeps like daring you to like it because it keeps giving you reasons why you should just be like, what the fuck, man? Like seriously, that's what you're giving me right now? And then you keep going because it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then something else happens, and it's just like this roller coaster the whole movie.
I mean, isn't that life? Like, dude, life's pretty fucked up and
I-
gives you a lot of shit that you're like,
No.
do I like this
Listen,
place?
I do this show to
Life
escape
had
life.
the Deadpool guy in it.
No. I mean actual life. I mean existence.
I'm
I don't mean a
joking.
movie.
Both Life and Life have Ryan Reynolds in it, so that makes it better.
Oh, okay.
wait, doesn't Life have Martin Lawrence in it?
Oh,
I
here-
made that
Yeah.
joke like 9 times on the
Oh,
episode.
God.
Damn it.
What do we think of the ending?
What do we think of Netflix
The ending.
in general?
I mean, I was really excited about the very, very ending. I will agree that like the flashback or like, you know, the flip back to the husband and the like weird girl on Earth was kind of forced, but the reveal made up for it.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
it was like so ridiculous. It kind of just like ended the movie in a good mood for me because I was
Yeah,
like,
I was
they
just
really,
like,
they just,
yes.
they went ahead and did it. Those absolute madmen.
You know,
Leaned
to
in.
John's point though, like we cut back to Earth enough. You could have given us way more monster action on Earth.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
yeah,
only
because-
really one allusion to like a huge
Yeah,
thing
see it at the
walking in
smoke in
the.
the hospital,
And that's
right?
cool. Yeah, and it reminded me of like the mist when they're out in the mist at the end and you just see like shadows going over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because like I didn't realize that that had been happening until he said like, why would you let her come back to this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
then why the hell did I not see this the whole time? Like that was the only part that pissed me off because I was like, well, I don't care about you talking to some rando girl you found.
Yeah.
Like, give me
Well, yeah,
monsters.
Because I mean, case in point, because up until he started saying screaming, "Don't let them come back here. They don't know
Yeah.
what's down here." I thought it was the war starting that
Right.
happened in
Yes.
Jensen's world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
see,
But
I don't know, like
also
when they
like
showed the hospital and you saw that silhouette, like I immediately thought like
I
shit was
didn't
going
see
down
this.
with
no,
it.
I
Yeah,
did
I
because
didn't-
the
I just
silhouette
saw rubble.
the silhouette looks like a Cloverfield. Like literally, it's a Cloverfield, like the legs like going over the hospital. It's early
Oh,
on.
gotcha, gotcha.
It's like
I didn't catch
halfway through maybe, but like the Cloverfield that pops up at the end is like 10
Fucking
times
huge.
bigger than
Oh,
the
yeah.
one in the movie.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there would have been much of Earth left if there was even one of those things.
He's a
Oh,
fatty.
yeah.
He's a fatty too.
I
Yeah.
wish that when he popped up, he would have said Bagul.
Looked at the camera and been like,
He pops up, "Roar, Bagul."
I think this is the chunkiest monster we've seen yet.
To
I
go back real quick
mean-
about the Earth seeds, though, like you were talking earlier at the top of the show about how didn't like how that guy didn't really have any story arc and what was the point of being there. They didn't show enough for that guy himself and his little story arc up until you get to the point about him screaming about the monsters at the end. I didn't have a problem with it. The problem I had with that whole thing was throughout this whole movie, they're showing his wife on the space station calling him and talking to him and stuff like that. And then just as soon as she hears, "Oh, your kids are alive," she does not care about getting back to him.
Right.
She's like, "Oh,
well,
he'll understand." And there's nothing that's showing.
she
Normally, you would have some kind of sentimental something that
Right.
happens, even if they're out of communication. She'd leave a message for him.
they
or
don't
something.
they don't show her
Right.
for they don't show her for a single moment being conflicted. Like I
Yeah.
totally understand the emotional pull of finding out
Right.
that in this other universe her kids are alive, but still, like, you have a husband and a life on this other planet. Like, at least give me a moment where
Yeah.
you're looking at a picture of him or something and like
well, also, it's
Exactly.
like there's another her. Like it would be
Right.
different. I could understand that
That's
pull
what I
if
kept thinking.
it was just her kids alive and like she had died. But I'm like, what are you gonna do and show up at your house
Just
and
hang
say,
out?
oh hey, I killed our kids in another universe, so let me see these
Oh,
universe.
okay.
Like,
So this was my last complaint maybe about this movie is that so at the very end, like she decides she's gonna leave, but she's like, okay, I can record a message and like send it to myself on this planet because I don't know, technology. So she gets on. She's like, two things. One, don't ever steal power. It's dangerous and wrong. And then she moves. And then she moves
she had
on.
like the battery that exploded.
Yeah,
or
because
something.
because what she had done was she had installed some kind of, what the hell did she call it? Like a
power cell.
power node or cell, and then like overheated or something and burned her house down. Okay, they killed her kids. So she's trying to warn herself in the other universe never to do that if she hasn't. Well, because I guess she hasn't. But don't you think you'd get specific? Don't you think you'd be like, first of all, she makes zero attempt to explain how it's herself sending a message to herself. She doesn't
Yeah, she's
say
just like, you're not crazy, but listen.
yeah, she just gets right into it, and then
time was limited.
she
I mean,
doesn't.
Yeah.
But she doesn't explain what happened.
But
She-
it goes back to the point about no conflict with or no confliction at all of her abandoning her husband on her world, because if she had the time while the whole thing they're running out of oxygen and they're counting down to launch and she could send a message to an alternate universe her that she has no idea what the lady's personality is or like, why couldn't before that when she was going to ride the pod down, couldn't she record a message to her husband and say, hey, I found our kids, they're alive in this world, it's fucked up, I know, but I gotta go save
Yeah.
them. I'm
Right.
sure you'll understand. That's all it would have taken.
Well, but also from the beginning, did she would have known that she could have just sent a message to the woman, right? But
Yeah.
we don't find that out as an audience until the end of the movie when it's convenient for her to decide to just do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like sometimes
I don't-
we just watch these movies where I feel like there's just not a lot of thought put into things, and I don't know, it just bothers me.
like John
I've
said,
already-
there was just too much stuff going on.
Yeah,
When the
I've
cat-
already
when
thought
the-
way too much about this movie at this point.
I was
When
like,
she
Give
told
it
I
her
the
watched
watch
dad
it
it.
deserved.
I watched it while at work and doing data entry. So I was like, you know what? This is a lot more interesting than that. So I didn't have time to pick it apart.
That Eric's comments, the my forehead smack moment, because when she was telling the captain, I'm not going back with you guys, I'm going to ride the pod down. Why didn't he say, why don't you just send a message and tell her not to install the power cell?
Hey dummy, yeah, hey dummy, call her answering machine. I'm sure it'll be fine.
All right, I think we're done here.
Interesting. You know what the funny thing is? I kind of enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. Let's do recommendations, right? I mean,
Yeah. Would you recommend this, Joe?
Yeah, I would.
Mark,
Yeah, it's silly.
Cece,
Yes.
John,
yes.
Casey.
Yes.
Yeah,
Double yes from Casey.
I'm actually gonna say yes too. I think this movie would maybe have benefited from not being a Cloverfield movie, but also I maybe wouldn't be interested in it if it wasn't.
I was gonna say, I don't know that I would have watched it
Yeah.
had it not been a Cloverfield movie.
Yeah.
It
But
is.
I think it's also going to benefit from being on Netflix versus a theatrical.
I think you just have to go in and check your expectations and be like, this is not 10 Cloverfield Lane. And I don't even mean it's not, they're not related, because I'm fine with that part. But like,
Yeah.
it's just not on the same level of quality. So you just have
It's
to
true.
be
I
ready.
mean, they were visually just not the same movie. Like I watched it and said, this is not that.
No, but I've seen a lot of people complaining.
Some different stuff happened.
I've seen people complaining directly that this doesn't explain more from those two movies, which I didn't really expect it to.
Yeah.
No,
Just-
I think that's an important part for us to talk about as far as the show, because they say it didn't explain as much, but at the same time, I think they kind of explain the entire
Right.
concept of the whole franchise to us.
Right. It's just in a
Right.
kind of like wider, esoteric kind of way. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Controversial, to say the least. That's going to do it for the Cloverfield Paradox. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Everyone's entitled to one good scare. I've had my share.
20 years have passed since that fateful night.
Do you know what day it is?
Halloween.
Halloween.
And they thought the terror was dead and gone.
Hey, you know, Michael Myers never found his body.
They were wrong. It finally ends here. Halloween H2O.
Hey, I'm Josh McDonald, writer of The Corridor and writer-director of the short film Game, and you are listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. We're back. I've come up with a new segment on the show, John. That's where I go and look to see if we have fan mail because I forgot to do it before the show.
It's everyone's favorite.
It's time for Eric to check the emails. Here he goes.
We got a very nice email sent directed for Sophie. I did forward this to her, but I thought it was nice. I wanted to read it. Belatedly reading Sophie's review of the 1990 film Flatliners. I just wanted to comment how rare it is to find this level of intelligent and eloquent film criticism outside of some of Roger Ebert's absolute best work.
Wow. Awesome.
Thanks for
High praise.
Thanks for he also excerpts it, but I don't have to read that. He also says thanks for all the laughs and insight from each of you over the years. I hope you don't wait 10 years to do another in-person event. Kind regards, Library O Congress.
Oh.
So it's a very nice tweet. Flatliners, we learned on that show, is one of Sophie's all-time favorite movies, and she has a lot of thoughts on it.
Weird.
Speaking of Sophie, she wanted me to mention they are doing a tweet with BGH Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The live stream for patrons starts at 7:30. They're going to be watching Before I Wake, which is on Netflix, so you can watch along.
Oh, that's on our list. We might get to watch it.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. info@bloodygoodhorror.com.
We have literally an insane number of BGH classics.
Boo.
So I'm going to try to rip through these really quick. Some of them are actually really amusing. I was reading them.
Did you just boo BGH?
No, I know. I don't know. It was the insane number part.
All right, there's a lot. So the first one, Dilly D. Williams, at Dilly D. Williams. This is a quote from me. All of the liquid rushes into her face. That's from episode 147, Prince of Darkness. I
Oh,
should have
yep.
asked if you could guess which movie I was referencing, but
I wouldn't have, but I know exactly the scene that it's referring to. So,
so this is Joe quote regarding Patrick Warburton. What's his name? Putty? That guy cannot say a word without me thinking he's freaking hysterical. He could be reading my grandmother's obituary, and I would find it funny. episode
to be fair,
262.
me and my grandmother were not very close.
I
so.
do love I do love some David Putty.
Oh, he's the best. I love it. He does the intro to Soren in Disney World. Makes me so happy every time. Check it out.
So the next one, sorry, this is from Skizbot. While discussing mindfuck movies, Joe says Freddy got fingered, and Mark says I feel like Lady in the Water really changed the way I look at the world. So this next one, I almost don't know if I can get through it. So this is from That Baseball Joe. He says, so this is from ABCs of Death 2. First it's Eric and then Mark. Eric says, if they catch your dick in a Gatorade bottle in the South, you're pretty much going to jail forever. And then Mark says, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Gatorade bottle.
What?
You know, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Oh no, I know.
Oh yeah.
Oh Christ.
They have very strict very strict rules about Gatorade bottle love in the South. So this is a reference to me driving back from Florida once by myself, and I had a giant Gatorade bottle that I peed in along the way.
Oh my God.
I remember this story now.
That's one of my favorites. I hat tip to That Baseball Joe on that one.
I actually had TweetDeck open a lot today, more than usual, and I caught that at work and started laughing to myself.
So the other one that Baseball Joe sent in is actually not a quote. He just lists episode 258, The Conjuring, is the episode where Occupy Midian goes to war with Joe BGH over his news article on Nightbreed.
Wait, what?
Remember I said that it was when I was still doing the news, and I mentioned the director's cut of Nightbreed was going to be like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I said there's never been a good movie that's over an hour and 45. And some Facebook fan group of Nightbreed picked it up and was ripping me.
Went after him. Yeah, it was good.
I
remember that.
That's funny. I always used to say that if you don't know Joe, I feel like his news would be so confusing tonally.
Oh yeah.
It only makes if you don't know him, I think it might read like a slow person who's really excited about something. But knowing Joe, it's just really dry sarcasm.
Or both.
So yeah,
it's a mix of both.
So I always wondered what a random person stumbling upon Joe's news would think.
All right, we got to keep it rolling. We still have a bunch of these. So Dilly D. Williams, this one I don't remember saying at all. So apparently I said during Rob Zombie's 31, well, they're not shut-ins anymore. They are outside. And then there's a long pause. They just got locked out of their parents' basement. Not sure what the reference was, but So Skizbot, he throws an episode 6 BGH classic.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a Mark quote. It's just fuck the democracy with DEW.
The democracy.
That must have been a reference to the Mountain Dew marketing stunts of the day.
Yeah. Could you
Mark?
Wait, hold on.
A whole different presidency ago. Wasn't
Mark,
it?
could you even guess what we were talking about, Mark?
I have no idea. I blacked all of those episodes out of my mind. I have no idea.
Is that a thing? Do you have a problem with a democracy?
I mean, I'm guessing it was probably shenanigans, and it was maybe after a Super Bowl, and there was some stupid Mountain Dew commercial or something.
You did love Mountain Dew, so back in the day, right?
Did I?
Dilly D. Williams, also from episode 394, the movie 31. It's a joke quote. I mean, did you guys see 1 through 30? Those were pretty good.
Classic Joe.
All right, 2 more. This one's from Dilly D. Williams, episode 390, Resident Evil, the original. Mark, didn't they super glue the dude from Linkin Park to a car seat once? And then Mark mocking Eric. There's the one where you just listen to the Linkin Park CD.
I don't.
Finally, Monica, that's our friend Mi Corazon Mi Amor, I often feel like stabbing people in February. That's an air quote
It's
from
true.
I could have guessed that.
Black Coat's daughter.
Yeah, because the movie's just cold and people get stabbed a lot, and that's how I feel. So there you go. The movie's great.
All right.
You might
Let's,
say Black Coat's Daughter is the second best horror movie of 2017. If you were me.
Oh, me Black Coat's daughter.
Yeah.
Uh,
They've got something in my front
Black Coat's
pocket for
daughter.
you.
All right, we are moving on to Ask BGH. So a couple here from Skizbot. Which group of movie friends do you wish you could have been a member of as a kid? Being pals with the kids from The Sandlot would probably be more fun than the kids from It. Honestly, I would have probably fit in best with the kids from Heavyweights.
For me,
That's a good one.
for me, it was.
I loved Heavyweights. I'll go on the
Oh,
record.
it's great.
I would
Great movie.
say Monster Squad because they had that sick treehouse that was all like decked out. I always like loved that.
Similarly, Jack.
I mean, the Goonies is like
No.
the other classic.
Jack,
Nobody?
like Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What are we talking?
He's talking
I
about the
ju-
treehouse.
I just heard sick
confirmed.
treehouse. Although not very structurally sound, apparently.
Sorry, Mark.
I was-
Haven't seen Jack. I just know that that's what you're talking about.
What?
It's sad, right?
It's very sad.
All right. The other one from Skizbot here, he
Jesus.
says, listening to some really old episodes where you discuss Sweeney Todd, I'm
Good
one of the
boy.
plebes that had no idea it was a musical when I went to see it. Have any movies you've seen surprised you by being something completely different than what you expected?
There was that time that Casey went to see Friend Request and didn't realize that the entire movie takes place on a laptop screen and got really old man angry.
Yeah. That was my old man moment. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
I tell this story all the time, but they released Rocky Horror Picture Show on VHS when I was like in second grade, and I rented it because I
Oh.
thought it was going to be a horror movie, and watched the entire thing like, what the fuck is going on here?
Never,
I
never
probably
was
had
a
that same experience actually with the
No.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. back
never
in the
was
day.
like an 11 or 12-year-old me more confused than when I was watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
There's things that happen in that movie.
There's things.
Yeah,
Many things.
yeah.
Any other confusing movie moments?
There's been at least one or I wish I could remember what they were, but I know I've seen movies for the show that I literally thought I knew what it was, and then
Yeah.
I got to the theater and it was like, oh, this is an animated movie. Like I had no idea.
All right. Well, the next one's from Robale, our buddy Roger. Will there ever be a trapped on a spaceship movie that tops Alien/Aliens?
Apollo 18.
You know what?
Jason X.
It's really tough to judge those movies because this nostalgia is so heavy for them. I mean, they are really
Well,
great.
They set the
but-
template in some way, right?
Yeah,
Like they're,
and
yeah.
so right, and so I don't know. I would go on a limb and say Life is awesome.
Yeah, it is really
I
good.
really liked Life.
Like, can it be as good as Alien or Aliens? No, because it's cribbing so much from that stuff, but it's really good.
I mean, I love Event Horizon. Like that's
Yeah,
like, I mean, we've talked
yeah,
about that at
right.
nauseum.
Well,
So
this movie made me think like, oh, I should go watch Event Horizon.
yeah, I mean, what's his name? Sam Neill. Come on. That's all I'll say. Bruno the Weber at Bruno the Weber. Hey guys, don't forget to watch Cloverfield 4. J.J. Abrams just uploaded it to your phones.
But not
Good show.
Joe's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not Joe's.
Everybody but
I was
Joe's.
so pissed off Sunday night. I was trying to watch this thing for like 3 hours, and it's still just saying, coming to you after the game.
Here's a good one. Dilly D. Williams. Do you guys think that the Cloverfield series is perhaps what John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were going for when they made Halloween 3? Try making an anthology film series that revolves around one common factor. Halloween was the holiday, while Cloverfield could be the name?
Yeah, I mean they are kind of successfully doing what Carpenter was trying to do. I mean the problem is I don't know, Michael Myers. You had Michael Myers and people wanted to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Well,
was
I mean, because
probably
now
never.
even with Cloverfield, people want to see the monsters. So
Yeah, like me.
yeah, I
wanna
want to
see the
see them.
monsters. I'm basic, whatever. All right. Alex McNulty. That's
I want to see the rose gold monster.
hey, that's Alexander 1986. There's no vowels in his name if you're trying to find him. Isn't it great that Cloverfield is taking the Hellraiser, quote, take a script and put Pinhead in it approach and actually making it work?
Yeah, I'm okay with it as long as the scripts are good. I think I'm more okay with it the last time, but yeah. The problem with
It's
Hellraiser,
stretched.
the problem with the Hellraiser approach is that they have no money. so they're just taking like any script they can find and sticking Pinhead in it, which is not really like a winning formula.
I was gonna say that they're not trying to shoehorn like a chubbier Pinhead into like this Cloverfield film, but like Mark pointed out with that new monster, he was a lot chubbier than the original Cloverfield monitor.
It's also
That monster's thick.
It's also like way easier to.
For days.
It's way easier to have a weird mysterious movie and just stick a quick shot of the Cloverfield monster at the end than it is to like gin up a way for Pinhead and the Cenobites to be in a movie.
Yeah.
I think it's actually harder to do that.
I mean, they're pretty specific, the Cenobites especially. Yeah.
Just have them pop their heads up at the end.
There you go. Romantic comedy.
You got
the one with the glasses. Yeah. All right. So next one from Monica. She says, "What was the last movie that you started but couldn't finish?" For me, it was Boca. Bokeh. Haven't seen that one. It's like a never-ending car trip with a significant other that whines the whole time and tries to start fights with you. Sounds terrible.
I always
The
say
Garbage Pail Kids movie.
The Garbage Pail Kids movie. Is that what you said, Mark?
Yeah.
I always say this, but the movie I famously couldn't make it through was Meet the Parents because I thought it was awful. And then on this show, I walked out on that Anthony Hopkins priest movie
Right?
in the theater that I paid money to see. I just got and walked out because I was
The
like,
Right?
I walked out
The
of
Right,
Killing
yeah, it's
Them
called
The-
Softly. Is that Brad Pitt movie?
what?
Not
Yeah,
Meet
that
Joe
is
Black, right? I will fight you.
What?
Not me,
Meet Joe
Joe.
Black.
That is you are describing a Brad Pitt movie.
Okay.
I don't think I ever walked out on anything for the show, but I couldn't make it through that Uncle Sam, like early 2000s slasher movie. If
Uncle
anyone's seen
Sam
that.
is so bad.
Isaac Hayes is in it.
No, I think it was 99.
Just had that great like 3D box cover.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it does.
For me, I never
Lenticular.
walked out. I usually don't, even if it's in the theater and I hate it. It takes a lot for it to get me to walk out. But in the
Well,
digital age with like Hulu and Netflix, my whole history is just a wash of movies I started for 5 minutes, like, no, this is fucking dumb, and then turn it off and move
for
on to the
me,
next one.
for me, I feel like too, it's like it's a combination of where I am that day. Like sometimes you just have an off day, and then if you are met with a really challenging movie on top of that, that's kind of when I'm just like, I can't do this. There it
Okay.
is.
I'm gonna ask it, even though Brandon. We kind of answered already. Brandon Bombay, that's at Brandon Bombay, says, "Why was this even made?"
Oh,
There you go, Brandon.
classic Brandon.
Nick Almond Scott, says, "Does anyone consider the first Cloverfield to be the best found footage film?"
No.
It's in my top 5, I would say.
I was gonna say I would put it in top
It's in
5.
stereo.
TJ Miller is so obnoxious. Like
I forgot
anything with
he's in
him.
it. I need to go back and
I
watch
forgot
it.
he was in it too.
Which
huh?
movie?
He
is this?
ruined it for me.
Which
Just he's
movie is this?
obnoxious behind the camera.
What movie is this?
I do. Cloverfield.
Oh yeah, so yeah. That's right. He was the voice. Wasn't
What
he?
other movie could it be?
No, because I zoned out for a second. Sorry.
You did?
I used to like TJ Miller, and then kind of like learned more about him and saw interviews.
Yeah.
Like specifically, I mean, there's some gross stuff in his past, but even just listening to him in interviews, it's like, oh my god, dude, you're like insufferable.
He's
Eric,
like a
doesn't he have-
sassy
you
giant
are
man
way
child.
off the question right now.
Not
now,
trying to make anybody guilty or anything, but doesn't TJ Miller have some brain damage or something?
what?
He
Sounds
almost,
like-
yeah, he had like, he almost died a while ago. He
Yeah.
talked in interviews about it. He had some like.
I really
aneurysm
like him
issue.
on the Silicon Valley.
Silicon
That's-
Valley.
The Gorberger show.
Eric, the question was about whether Cloverfield is the best found footage movie, which I thought you would have a very specific
Sorry.
opinion on.
Okay,
and
now
then
that
you
I'm listening,
went off on TJ Miller.
wow, is Cloverfield the best found footage movie? That's a great question. If
I
I
think
had
so.
to list my top 3, it would probably be, and I might be forgetting something, but I would say Cloverfield. I would say The Last Exorcist is probably in my
Last
top
Exorcism. That's in there
3.
for
Yeah,
me too.
The Last Exorcism. What other ones would be in the running? I'm trying to think.
Did you say Blair Witch? I wasn't paying attention.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, and Blair Witch, right?
Blair Witch
Yes.
is high on my list.
Yeah, no,
What was
I
the
I
movie
agree.
with
Which
the
new one you guys
the
are talking about,
crabs,
right?
the face
Yeah, the
crabs?
new
The
one.
Bay. The Bay's up
The
there.
Bay.
I think The Bay might make my top 10, maybe. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Script.
It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah. All right.
Man,
It was
you
so
know
good
what?
I couldn't remember the name of it. But
Now I want to like make this list and do it on the site or something.
All right. Well,
Joe,
that-
Joe,
we
write
could
my
probably
list.
find a place for you to post that.
Joe, write my
So-
list down.
Oh yeah. Don't we need to do the best of Eric's 2018?
Yeah, we got to catch up with best of 2018. I don't know how we slacked on this, Joe.
All right, we got like 3 questions here. Let's power through here. Chris Vincent, Super Vince 2000, recently learned Stephen Miller went to Duke, which eerily fits Eric's racial narrative. Any chance Schnars was in a secret society with him? So we've actually talked about this on the show. So
have we talked
come
about
on,
him,
Super
or
Vince.
was it the other guy? Was it the Nazi dude?
Well, the Nazi guy was a graduate student for like a year. He does not hold a degree from Duke. That's at least my understanding. Stephen Miller graduated the year behind me. at
God,
Duke.
he is just a wiener, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
the worst.
Isn't that the guy who sings the Joker and take the money and run?
Yes, Joe.
He's got a great bent. So Sophie, our own Phillies Femme, at Phillies Femme, Sophie Day. So Cloverfield Paradox, the best surprise worms since Lost Boys, right? And she posts a GIF of the worms.
Yes, yes.
Sweden.
The worms were surprised in the sense that there was zero reason for them to be there.
Yeah. Corey Miller. That's Enco Gonzo. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say the exploding part was good.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Did you keep thinking about Alien or The Thing during the space scenes?
I mean, that's kind of just every space movie
you can
now.
see the homage.
Yeah, I mean, any of these space movies at this point. The one thing that I like that they did here, we didn't really get into it, but the design of the ship was like pretty different from other ship designs. I mean, usually a lot of the ship design you'll see is like the super duper long ship. So that's like 2001 Event Horizon. I think the Alien ship is like really, really long. This one's like a vertical. It's like more of a space station, and it has all these like spinny deals in it. I don't know. I thought the ship design was really cool. Slightly off topic. Okay, last question. GTA Heist. That's WSBB Productions. Was the woman escape pod the same that we see drop in the ocean in the original Cloverfield, or
No.
a different dimension?
No, I think it's a totally different dimension. Yeah. So at this point, I think that where we are is that the firing of this thing created ripples across every dimension. So I feel like every one of these movies we see now is just going to be another dimension where some weird shit happened because of this.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing weird going on in that universe as far as like war or like energy shortage. You know what I
Right.
mean? So none of that stuff was established anyway in Cloverfield, at least.
And it wasn't in 10 Cloverfield Lane either.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they can basically just do whatever the hell they want and just be like,
But that's a cool-
dimensions!
But that's a really cool. I mean, that is kind of the fun aspect of this movie. Is that's like a fun pop sci-fi, like mind-bending idea to think that this literally could send ripples across the multiverse, so to speak. You know what I mean? That's kind of like
dude, you're into the multiverse?
Yeah, I'm way into multiverses.
I'm really excited to see like multiple films come out and someone do a Inception level map for all of the dimensions.
I do think that that's like a fun kind of thought exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hell, that's the beauty of this. Like we talked about, though, they could even do TV on Hulu or Netflix or something if they wanted to.
Could definitely do a show, yeah.
Just go crazy, JJ.
What if they brought Sliders back, but it was like Sliders, Cloverfield?
Ooh,
I love.
Only
that.
if they bring Jerry O'Connell back.
I loved that show.
He's still alive.
And replace him with his brother halfway through, and then switch him back.
Bring him back to life.
I love that show because it was basically itself a remake of like Quantum Leap or something, because it was the same kind of. It was like each episode was we went to a new place, we found out the weird thing about this place, and then we went back. It's great.
Love Quantum Leap.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, Quantum Leap.
What was the guy's name? The guy who went around with him, like Frank.
Scott Bakula. Oh,
that was Hal.
Hal.
Yeah.
Was it Hal? Are you sure?
Yeah, Hal 9000.
No,
that was
no.
That
was.
I am pretty sure it was Hal though.
It was like.
I think he's right.
No. He had some nickname for it. I'm looking.
I thought it was just like a guy's name. Steve.
I don't know. This is stimulating.
Eric, your best and worst of. Would you put Insidious: The Lost Key on your top 10? I assume so. Yes.
I guess it was Al for Quantum Leap, just
Al.
for the record.
Al. Okay. All right. So what movies have we done this year? Let's go down the list.
We've done this and Insidious. The Last Key would be
I
the
would
only.
say I would slot Insidious in my bottom 3 for now.
All right.
And let's put. You know what? Let's get weird. This movie could make my list, but I don't have I don't have any context, so let's just put it at number 1 for now.
Ooh.
What?
It's my list. It's my list, John. I do what I want.
Oh, but
I
what?
know.
Oh, but
I
what?
kind of want to mess with you this year and keep this at number 1, even no matter what you tell me, and just see at the end of the year, you're like, well, I don't know. It's the list is the list.
I must have said that. I don't know.
Are those the
Alternate
only?
universe.
Are those the only movie?
I feel like I like these other movies better, but
Are those the only movies we've done that are not like catch up from 2017?
yeah,
Okay.
those are the only 2 from.
All right.
Although we got the Winchester this weekend, right?
Sure.
Are we doing that still? Or are we on the fence?
I was like, everyone has talked so badly about
Yeah,
it.
I haven't heard a single good thing. I mean, we could always just catch it on video later and then carry on with something else.
I mean,
So
I
we
don't know.
have Open House and Before I Wake on Netflix, which are direct to Netflix releases for this year.
I actually think that like I watched Open House this weekend. It's not amazing, but I think could make for an interesting discussion because there's a lot going on in it.
Let's do it then. Let's
Yeah.
do
Well,
it
I've
to
already
it, dog meat.
We're breaking a lot of hearts out there. Who
We're
wanted
gonna need
hear
you
us
to
go
fly
into
again, though,
Winchester.
Eric.
No, I think like we were actually pretty good this year of catching stuff later on video, even if it was like months and months later. So I don't know. We should keep a list of like things we want to catch once they're released on video.
I'll add that to the Eric's 2018 list.
You're the man, Joe.
Okay, guys.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
It's been fun.
We did it.
That's gonna do it. This weekend, Sunday night. Don't forget to check out the new class streaming. CC, you just released a bunch of book club stuff, right?
Yes, all of the book club discussions are posted on the Goodreads, so you can read and discuss whatever book at your leisure. And there is also a new episode of Something Red coming out later this week. Surprise!
Amazing. Also,
Oh my God.
I have recorded the next episode of the Eric Show.
Nice.
But I need to figure out how to get it off my iPad because it'll no longer support syncing to Dropbox. So now I just it's in
Just shake it, I think.
yeah. Actually, Mark, hang on.
No, hit play and then hit record on your computer.
Yes, perfect.
I hate you guys. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah. So
Just
that'll
write it down and then call someone and recite it to them.
that'll hopefully be coming out this week if you're a patron. So wait for that. The bated breath. All right, guys. hope you-
Anybody else more excited to see Eric driving, holding his iPad up to his head while he records this thing?
Yes.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.